Star Wars Tales of the Underworld dropped on May the 4th, 2025 for Star Wars Day. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the series as a whole. I've already reviewed each individual episode and then the Ventress episodes and the Bane episodes separately, but it is now time to talk about them as a cohesive unit. But first, if you didn't catch my individual reviews, don't worry, you get to see them first. Timestamps will be down below, or if you already see them, watch them again please, but if you don't want to, you can jump to the very end where I'll be giving my conclusion as a whole. But let's begin with the Assaj Ventress episodes. Welcome to the Jedi Ranger, I'm JohnBerry555, and this is my review of the 3 Assaj Ventress episodes of Star Wars Tales of the Underworld. Episode 1, A Way Forward, Episode 2, Friends, and Episode 3, One Warrior to Another. So, timestamps will be down below where I talk about each individual episode, so feel free to jump to those sections if you would like. But stay tuned to the very end because I will be talking about all 3 episodes together. And it's time to talk about Star Wars Tales of the Underworld. We're going to begin with talking about Episode 1, A Way Forward. It's the first of the 3 Assaj Ventress episodes. In this one, well, we get to see how she survived death from the end of Dark Disciple. And I did like how that really nicely tied in there to the book with the green flames and all of that. And though it sounds like she might have had a delay before she actually was resurrected, reborn, I'm not sure what term to use, overcame death. I got better, you could say. But anyhow, basically, after all that, apparently the catch for her, not moving on to the nether realm of the Force is she loses her, i.e. probably her connection with Quinlan, their love, or something along that line, meaning somehow they'll be prevented from reuniting, perhaps. But at the same time now, well, she's trying to live a quiet life, avoid attention from the Empire and all that, and she's working basically as the bouncer for a docking bay to people who can't pay or will cause trouble. Well, anyhow, a former Jedi comes in. She doesn't pick it up that quickly, but when Ventress sees Jedi Padawan, I'm guessing, use a mind trick on the docking bay lately, she picks up right away. And then tries to get him out, and the Empire's under, tells him to hide behind the desk, and actually successfully uses the mind trick on the Stormtroopers. No problem there. Also, those scenes establish that she doesn't kind of want a more action life, so I'm going to guess this is set before the episodes in the Bad Batch, given that it seems like right now she's just trying to, avoid trouble, live a quiet life, because apparently she's liking right now. But meeting up with the Jedi, yeah, they get chased by the Empire, and an Inquisitor shows up. Meanwhile, that former Jedi Padawan, I'm guessing Padawan, is asking, who are you? How did you survive? And we know who she is, he doesn't. But Ventress does say, if you knew who I was, or something along that line. But eventually, after facing the Inquisitor, which Ventress does not dispatch. No, the Jedi Padawan does, which indicates that he might have some darker tendencies that he may need to work through. And then Ventress, once they get board of the ship that's even the plan, reveals who she is to him. And I can't tell if he looks taken aback or something, but it's definitely going to be really interesting. But the episode is called The Way Forward, and sounds like she has a new way forward, especially when she learns of the path from that Jedi and that Quinlan's involved. Maybe she sees she has a chance to reconnect with him or something. But it's going to be very interesting to see how this develops in the next 2 episodes. And we're going to be talking about the 2nd episode of Star Wars Tales of the Underworld. Episode 2 is Friends. It's the 2nd of the Ventress episodes, and, well, now that he's met the Jedi, whose name we finally learned, and my brain is like, but I already forgot. They go to, well, I'm pretty sure it's Nar Shaddaa, and meet up with an old bounty hunter friend, in quotes, Ventress. I'm pretty sure we saw this bounty hunter actually back in some of the Ventress episodes of the Clone Wars, where she teamed up with Boba Fett. I'm pretty sure it's the same character right there. But anyhow, they agreed to do a job with her to steal from the Empire in order to get some intel on the path. Ventress is still being cagey why she's so interested, and that bounty hunter does give the Jedi a little bit of a point that Ventress really does anything for selfless reasons. But the thing is not many people know of everything Ventress went through in Dark Disciple, but at the same time, we know the reason why she's now interested in the path is because she's hoping to reunite with Quinlan. That puts some context into what's going on. She does have this selfish motive in there, but we also know that Ventress, she's changing as a character. She's becoming more selfless. We saw that with her cameo, and a bit more than a cameo in Star Wars: The Bad Batch, which I'm pretty sure this is set before. So the timeline might be a bit fuzzy there, because it seems like Zero was more involved with the path, but regardless of that point, the point being here is friends is the title of the episode, and yeah, in the bounty hunter business, you really don't have friends. You only have acquaintances who you know better than other acquaintances. But the episode ends with the Jedi saying that he trusts Ventress, giving her the information because they get it. The sailing went south, and Ventress's friend decided to try to betray them to get the bounty on them instead. So I don't think the Empire will appreciate them also having tried to steal from them. That's more of a side point. The point being is that Ventress is being trusted. She's getting herself into a circle where she can actually trust people and have friends. If only she'll let herself, which I think she will, because we gotta remember, I've not seen the Cad Bane episodes yet, but Ventress and Cad Bane will be foes for each other in some way. And from what I know of each individual character already, Ventress is going to be essentially the hero character, while Bane will be the villain character, and the followers will come from their role in the stories respectively. But we still don't know what the intel is. I'm wondering if it's going to be an interesting plan that has some connection to something already associated with Ventress, but we just gotta wait for the episode to see for sure. And it's time to talk about the final Assaj Ventress episode of Star Wars Tales of the Underworld, Episode 3, One Warrior to Another. So, in this episode, they're following up on the lead that they got in the last episode for the path, and Assaj and the Jedi companion, Lonnie? I think I'm fine. Not Lonnie. Lonnie's from Andor. Again, name is blanking for some reason. Whose name I should have looked up a long time ago, but it's Lyko. Anyhow, they're on the planet, and eventually it's dry desert. They're running low on water, and they come to a farm. The farm doesn't give them, the farmer's granddaughter, I should say, doesn't give them the most welcoming of reception, but it makes sense. Her grandfather was a former Separatist commander, has his medals on the wall and everything, and recognizes Ventress. Well, in exchange for information on where a canyon is, where they can meet up with the path, they agree to get some water because the farmer and his granddaughter have been struggling getting water because of quote-unquote raiders. They get the water attack, and Lyko, being a Jedi in that, actually knows the language. Must have been one of the languages studied, but he's able to basically broker a temporary peace where basically they agree not to fight each other and share the water. The exact details of the agreement are left unstated, but the idea is him being a Jedi is what solved the situation. Well, the episode is titled One Warrior to Another, and that's Assaj to that farmer, that's Assaj to the former Separatist, but in reality, it's the Jedi, the one who's not a warrior, even though Jedi can be warriors, is what resolves the conflict of the episode. Eventually they get to the canyon, actually thanks to the local population, who the former Separatists had called the Raiders, and, well, whether Lyko makes the ship or not is left a bit iffy, but he decides to stay with Ventress. Ventress decides not to go on the ship, not to connect up with the path, though I do think she might still connect with the path to help them out, but not in the sense of finding Quinlan. She's accepted that she and Quinlan, for whatever reasons, will never be able to get back together. And no, she's accepting that that's what she gave up to stay in the world of the living rather than going to the nether world of the Force for the time being, at the very least. And that's where her episode ends. Stay tuned for when I talk about all 3 episodes together. So now that we took a look at each individual episode, let's take a look at the picture as a whole. What are we learning about Assaj Ventress, and how will that contrast with Cad Bane? Now, I haven't seen the Cad Bane episodes yet, but I can make some assumptions based off of what we know about his character going in. But focusing on Assaj Ventress, we see basically her resurrection, her overcoming death at the very start, and we learn that basically in exchange for that she basically loses her heart, i.e. her connection with Quinlan. So that's why in the show, in other episodes, she does not reconnect with him at all, even though that's essentially the reason why she told herself why she was helping the Jedi Lyko. That's what she told herself. But deep down, I think she did want to do the right thing and help him escape the Empire. And she just, until the end, couldn't really admit that yet. Lyko picked up that Quinlan was the reason why Assaj was helping him, and I think part of the reason that he decided not to go is because Assaj chose not to go. That's why I'm reading Zero. Basically, he said that, hey, she's actually choosing to be selfless rather than selfish for a change. Maybe I should stick with her, even though apparently we know each other and rib on each other, to help her stay on that selfless path, which would be a very Jedi thing to do. After all, in Dark Disciple, we do basically see Assaj turn over a new leaf, and this is helping reinforce her turning over the new leaf. She's lying to herself about why she's doing the right thing, but she does still do the right thing in the end for the right reason. That's at least how I took away the story being told for Ventress and her character development. How would that contrast with Cad Bane, on the other hand, is a different matter. Likely, Cad Bane would think he's doing the right thing, but he's actually doing the wrong thing. That's kind of the inverse I'm expecting. He does the wrong thing, the selfish thing, but he's telling himself he's doing it for a selfless reason. That's my prediction going into those episodes. We will see how right that is when we actually watch those episodes. Welcome to the Jedi Ranger. I'm JohnBerry555, and this is my review of the Cad Bane episodes of Star Wars Tales of the Underworld. The episodes in question are The Good Life, A Good Turn, and One Good Deed. So let's talk about each individually, then we'll talk about the three together as a whole. Timestamps will be down in the description. Welcome to the Jedi Ranger. I'm JohnBerry555, and this is my review of the 4th episode of Star Wars Tales of the Underworld, The Good Life. So this is the first of the 3 Cad Bane episodes, and this is in effect his origin story. I'm not sure what planet it is, but Cad Bane, or as he's called in this episode, Colby, and a friend, I'm presuming it's a friend, not a brother, they're living on the streets, scrounging for food, and then one day a mysterious fellow who just calls himself a businessman gives them basically 1 coin that's apparently worth a lot, so they live a nice, good life compared to what they normally did, basically indulging in candy, sweets, and good tasting food. And then the next day, that guy shows up again and says, would you like to make some more? You just need to do this for me. And Cad Bane is roped into a life of crime from there. That's effectively what it boils down to. His friend, though, is captured by the police during all this, while he continues escaping, and he's in that life of crime now. And this episode, I don't know how it's going to relate in comparison to the Ventress episodes, because I'm pretty sure Ventress and Cad Bane will be providing a follow from each other. But one thing I have to guess is, Ventress' story is, especially in Tales of the Underworld, is about basically becoming a good person. Moving beyond her troubled past. While here, Cad Bane is falling into a troubled future. So that's where I'm thinking it might lead up going. But more than anything, I think this episode is supposed to introduce us to who Cad Bane was and how he got involved in crime and in bounty hunting and in the criminal underworld in the Star Wars galaxy. That's what I think this episode is all about, and that's what it does show us. But it also makes sure to introduce us a little bit of tragedy as well, to make us feel a little bit sympathetic for him. Losing probably his best friend in his first foray into the criminal underworld proper, not just living on the street and being a quote-unquote street rat. Very much, perhaps, a comparison with Ezra Bridger. But Ezra met the right people who helped him find his place in the galaxy where he could actually help people. So that's something I just thought of as well. Plus, there's some Sutter's designs I think they took for the city from Chicago with an elevated public transit system of some form. I think that might have been slightly intentional as well. But we have to see where the story goes from here. Welcome to the Jedi Ranger. I'm JohnBerry555, and this is my review. of the 5th episode of Star Wars Tales of the Underworld, A Good Turn. So this is the second Cad Bane episode, and you can definitely tell he's in his life, but he's pretty good. He just wishes he was actually more involved. And basically his mentor, that businessman from earlier, and he definitely views that like a surrogate father figure, mentor type figure, it goes on a mission and ends up being shot by the Marshal. So Cad Bane wants his revenge. And he meets his old friend who's turned his life around, is now a deputy. Well, anyhow, Cad Bane causes an incident to get the Marshal to come out so that way he can get his revenge. And there's a standoff, a close standoff. Of course, Cad Bane's old friend shows up as well. And, well, shots off fire. Now, Cad Bane makes out fine, and so does his old friend. But the Marshal, yeah, not so lucky. But also another character that I haven't mentioned yet, Aaron, if I got the name correct, is shot in the shoulder, injured but still alive. Definitely seems like at this point in the timeline in the story that she and Cad Bane seem to be developing a close relationship. Of course, she doesn't want to lose Cad Bane, so she agrees to surrender and throws Cad Bane's blaster to the authorities so that way there's no additional violence. Of course, Cad Bane, he's not taking it super well. He's taking it well enough in the moment, but considering when his old friend asks him if his revenge was worth it, Cad Bane responds it will be, indicates that his revenge is not over. He may have gotten his initial satisfaction of revenge, but I think he has a new target for his revenge, namely the character Aaron, who I think he was going close to, but not anymore, because I think Cad Bane's story will be dominated, by seeking basically some wealth and all that, but also by seeking revenge. And that's what's going to be, I think, the heart of this story. And that's definitely where it seems to be leading at this time. He's seeking revenge, and he thinks it will be worth it, but he hasn't gotten it yet. And will he ever get it is a question. We're going to have to see that in episode 6. If I have to guess, I would say not. Welcome to the Jedi Ranger. I'm JohnBay555, and this is my review of the 6th and final episode of Star Wars Tales of the Underworld, One Good Deed. So this is the final of the 3 Cad Bane episodes, and in this episode, well, he's out of prison and he's returning back to his home world, his home neighborhood, to get his revenge on his old friend for basically everything, and also hopefully reunite with Aaron, which implied that they were close, as I discussed before. Well, apparently has a change. The neighborhood way improved. His old friend, now the Marshal, is doing a pretty good job at keeping crime down. Unfortunately, there's some complications going on. Cad Bane wants his revenge. He doesn't care who he has to get it in the way of, and that includes murdering his old friend in front of his old friend's son, which may actually be Cad Bane's own son. There's some implications going on there that I'm not quite sure if I read it correctly, but it's implied that, one, that there was something that Aaron hadn't told Cad Bane, but that Cad Bane's friend knows, and because he did eventually apparently marry Aaron as well. I'm wondering if Isaac, who's in the story portrayed as the son of Cad Bane's old friend, childhood friend, is actually biologically Cad Bane's. Though definitely Cad Bane's old friend is the father that stepped up. That's what I'm reading, mainly because there's just some subtext there, and Cad Bane's one good deed is not also killing Isaac and walking away. That's the one good deed in this episode. Now, they do not address at all, was Cad Bane satisfied by his revenge or not? That is never addressed. But what does show is that there is still capabilities of him perhaps having a little bit compassion, which is something I did not expect them to do. I expect to have about this episode. But it makes sense that there is still a part of Cad Bane that remembers when he was a child. That makes sense. That's still a part of him deep down. And seeing a young boy who perhaps reminds him a little bit of himself, who might be his. I don't know if Cad Bane ever picked up on that, but it does show that perhaps if he had the right mentor, he could have been a good person. He could have, like his old childhood friend, helped his own neighborhood, but instead he went down the path of being in the criminal underworld and becoming a bounty hunter due to his influences versus the influence of his old friend that we never got to see. So now that we took a look at each episode individually, let's take a look at what they mean together. Obviously we're following Cad Bane, and his story is basically seeing him from his introduction to the life of crime to his, well, not his end as we see that in the book of Boba Fett, but rather what appears to be him settling his old scores from childhood, for like a better term. So, as I mentioned in my reviews of each individual episode, he has his friend who, instead of going down the path of criminal bounty hunter like Cad Bane does, he goes down the path of lawman, and that puts them at odds of each other. The first episode is literally that introduction episode to both of them. The second episode, we see Cad Bane get himself into a situation where he loses Aaron, the person that seems like he was becoming romantically involved with, all because he wanted to seek revenge for the previous marshal before Cad Bane's childhood friend becomes the new marshal, killing what appears to be Cad Bane's mentor in the criminal underworld. He could have walked away from that, as Aaron rightfully was pointing out to Cad Bane, and that caused him to go to jail for some time and also lose Aaron, who appears in that intervening time to become romantically involved with Cad Bane's old friend. But Cad Bane's old friend's son, Isaac, might actually be Cad Bane's, as there's something that Aaron apparently wanted to tell Cad that she never did. What could that be? It's an implication, it's very soap opera-y, but it would add a sense of tragedy. But it would make Cad Bane's one good deed in that episode being not to kill Isaac. Yes, he traumatized the boy, but he didn't kill him. But that does show that any compassion that Cad Bane had was pretty much wiped away. And probably the only reason why Cad Bane elected not to kill Isaac was because he decided that killing his old friend was worthwhile revenge, and that Isaac was maybe could be a victim of his revenge, but was not a party to any of the events that Cad Bane felt needed avenging. And that's why I think Cad Bane spared Isaac. Not because of anything else, but because Isaac wasn't involved. But that's just my idea. Overall, the story is about a character whose desire for revenge further pushes him down the path of criminality and into the underworld. Not because they are forced there by the ruling government, but because they decide, because of their own actions. And that's we're going to talk a little bit more about when we talk about the Cad Bane episodes in relationship with the Assaj Ventress episodes. But that is going to be another video. In the meantime, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. So now that we took a look at the Assaj Ventress and Cad Bane episodes together and collectively, let's take a look at Tales of the Underworld as a whole picture, because it has something to say. Like the previous Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire, our two main focus characters are supposed to be foes for each other. They're telling us both stories of characters in the underworld. They're in a very similar, perhaps, situation, but due to circumstantial differences and character differences, they serve as foes. With Tales of the Jedi, we had Ahsoka and Count Dooku. Ahsoka, despite being disillusioned with the Jedi, never lost what it meant to truly be a Jedi, while Count Dooku fell down to the dark side. In Tales of the Empire, Barriss Offee, disillusioned with the Jedi and had some deep-seated anger and resentment, eventually let go of that stuff and allowed her to return to the light, while Morgan Elsbeth just further went down the path of the dark side. Here, Assaj Ventress, her entire adult life has been basically being manipulated, being a victim of the Sith and Separatists altogether, especially the Sith. But a chance encounter with an Order 66 survivor reawakens the part of her that we got to see starting to come out in some of the final episodes of the Clone Wars that she appeared in, and also in the novel Dark Disciple, and also what we got to see in the Bad Batch, a sense of there is a part of her, she wants to do good, and once she's let go of her hate and all that, she's able to move beyond basically being a victim, being somebody who for a long time in her life had her choices taken away from her. And she makes the choice at the very end and at the beginning, makes the choice to come back, but at the sacrifice of basically her heart, her love, and being able to be with Quinlan. And at the end of her episodes, she once again chooses not to get involved with the past. So I think she might actually be semi-involved, but chooses not to get involved in a way that will reconnect her with Quinlan. She makes that choice. And thanks to the Jedi she encounters, a sense of also helping others reawakens within her. This is in contrast with Cad Bane. He's given multiple chances not to continue down the path of criminality. His best friend from childhood offers him that same thing, a chance that he, while we didn't get to see on screen, he was offered by the security forces, by the police, that allowed him to turn his life around and become a lawman, and eventually becomes a marshal and start a family. Cad Bane, his choices though, never allowed him that opportunity, never allowed him to find small enjoyments in his life. He's contrasted directly with his friend, but that's also in contrast with Ventress, who gets finally a choice in her own life. Yes, there is a sacrifice to her choice, but it's her own choice, and she meets somebody who she can barely tolerate, which for her is a sign of respect and affection, because that's just who she is as a person. But the contrast is, she's in the underworld because of who she is, not because of the choices she made. Even if she was a bounty hunter, which she is semi a bounty hunter, but a bounty hunter fully involved in the criminal underworld, hunting Jedi, she'll still be targeted by the Empire. No matter what, Assaj Ventress was going to be forced into the underworld, just like anyone else who opposed the Empire's rule. But Cad Bane, it's his choices. His choices not to allow himself a nice, peaceful life with friends and family that forces him into the underworld. That's the contrast at the heart of the episode, and why these two characters were chosen to contrast with each other. Is there more to say? Certainly. But that is what the comment section is there for. So let me know your thoughts down there, and we'll keep the discussion going. Thank you for watching my video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give this video a like and share. Also, consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date on all my latest content. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the Force be with you, always.